you guys. I just want to start with just being overwhelmed with these stories. And I don't know why they didn't give us Kleenexes over there. I'm glad this isn't going to be up close. But I want to start with this call out for courage tonight, and I want to make sure that each one of you know that as we're hearing these stories, as I share my story, I hope you know that you are all in this room, and you watching at home when you watch later, you are all deserving and worthy of a call out for courage. I think sometimes we make the assumption that it's reserved for a select few. And so I want you to specifically hear somebody saying over your life that you're all worthy and deserving, no matter your story, no matter your past, no matter what brought you to this place today. You're deserving and you're worthy. You are loved and you matter and you're cared for. And there is a call out for courage in your life. And so to introduce myself a little bit, my name's Emily Funderburk, like Kim was saying, and I am a therapist. I'm a licensed counselor. And just to help you understand that process of what got me to that place, it all started my senior year of high school. So my senior year of high school is when I took my first psychology class. And to this day, I'm still very perplexed and confused at why I learned math and social studies and science and language arts and reading and cursive, which I only use for my signature. I learned all of these things, and then my senior year, after being whatever happens in high school and middle school, my senior year of college, here's an elective, go take psychology. And all of a sudden, I get to understand the way the brain works, the way the mind works, that emotions have a name. Why did they wait till 12th grade to teach me that? Middle school, we need to do it way early. And I was fascinated. I wanted to learn more. They started saying things about cognitions and thoughts, and the way that you think influences the way that you behave, and the way you behave influences the way you think. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I need this more than math. And so I kept wanting to go on and understand more. And so I went to undergrad to get psychology, and then kept going. And here I am now, a counselor, still trying to figure people out, still trying to understand myself. And so I'm thankful and appreciative for things like this that advocate for mental health awareness, because we should all keep learning. We should all understand and be on a quest and a journey to understand ourselves, to understand the people sitting beside us. And I do a lot of marital therapy work, so we definitely need to understand what's happening in our marriages and with the people we're living with, right? Because they're the crazy ones, not us. And so this all started when I was in 12th grade, and I started to understand, and so I wanted to know more. But even bigger than that, the reason why that was so eye-opening to me was my struggles leading up to 12th grade. My whole world changed when I was sitting at a park bench. When I was 6.5 years old, everything about my world, my reality, everything about my life changed sitting at a bench. I remember it so vividly, and I wanted you to be able to feel this moment with me today. When I was in the first grade, that same day, the scenario, I remember being called out on the speakers. And I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but when your name is called out on the loudspeaker, when you're in school, you look around and make sure, did you guys hear that? Because you almost want to call out bingo. You feel really proud of yourself. You feel special. You feel like something important is happening to you. There's something about your name being called out when you make it for the team, or your name gets called out on the loudspeaker, that it almost feels like the world is acknowledging your existence. That's how I felt in that moment. I got called out of school early that day, feeling pretty daggone special. And it's just like those moments. There's times in our life, and maybe you have one too, where special turns into broken, way quicker than you'd like it to. That I left school that day, putting my backpack on, walking out of the class like I was a hot shot to meet my mom in the office. And she didn't act like we were doing something special. That day, my mom took me into the car, and we started going somewhere, and I didn't know where she was taking me. And so, of course, confusion starts to set in. I'm not sure what's going on. And my mom takes me to this lake. And so I have this picture of this lake. I remember it being beautiful. This is in California, so the sun is just a little bit extra perfect there, and the weather's nice, not too humid. And I just remember it being a beautiful day. And my mom sat me down on this park bench. And we started looking around. We saw ducks. I remember talking about the trees, the water. And then it started to shift. She started to change the conversation. I think she was trying to figure out how to do this. And she starts talking about the clouds. Do you see the clouds, Emily? Yeah, I see them. And then talks about heaven and God. Somehow I started my morning learning how to read and write in first grade. And that afternoon, I was learning about life and death and existence. It was a really big day for me. And so my mom tries to formulate words together to string something she doesn't know how to do, to tell me that my dad passed away. And my brain didn't know how to understand what she's saying, what this means for my reality, what this means for my future. But I'll never forget that the person that sat down on that bench, that 6.5-year-old little girl, that the person that stood down was different than the person that stood up. Her reality was different. Things changed, which forced her to change. But I was confused, and I was shattered, and I was broken. And often confusion precedes courage. And I hope if you're in a place of confusion today, I hope you get a little set free by that. Because sometimes we're in a place of confusion. I don't understand what's going on. When I got a little bit older is when I found out that he had taken his life. My father was a police officer. He had an infectious smile. I still get people to this day that message me that say how impactful he was to their life from his high school, how much he meant to them, how much he was there for them. And I was mad. When I was a teenager, I was mad. As a little girl, I was sad and I was confused. And as a teenager, I was mad. Why does everybody else get this great guy? And he left me. I didn't understand. This is all right before senior year of high school. I didn't understand mental illness. I didn't understand his struggle. I didn't understand his pain. All I could feel was my own. Look what you did to me. Look what you're missing out on. And so my quest for understanding mental health gave me empathy, allowed me to see good. But everything still changed that day that girl sat down, and everything shifted, everything changed. But you know what? God met me that day. I can say that now. I also want you to know he was my first counselor. We do this confidentiality thing, but I'm gonna let you in on that. He was my first counselor, my first safe place. And God met me that day. And he gave me the courage to stand up. He gave me the courage to stand up. And I don't know where you are today. I don't know what experiences you've been in, but maybe you've had a park bench experience where you sat down in one reality and you stood up scared to stand up, paralyzed in the middle of your bench, wondering, what do I do next? Where do I go? Who do I trust? Who do I talk to? That you stand up and you don't have the full picture and you're in a place of confusion. He met me and he helped me get up, and then not only that, but this park bench became a catalyst for so many other experiences in my life, because I had other days where I had to sit on a prickly bench. And God gave me the courage to stand up. There are some days where other people's decisions and other people's pain put me in a place where it shattered and rocked my whole world. Where I had to sit on a bench of grief, sit on a bench of isolation, sit on a bench of anxiety, sit on a bench of depression. I've had a lot of bench experiences, and maybe you've had one too. There's some times where I put myself on the bench, where I made my own mistakes, that it wasn't anything anyone else did. I put myself in timeout almost, because I made decisions that wrecked and ruined my world. I sabotaged things. I made a mess of my own undoing. There's some times where you'll put yourself on the bench and you'll go through a process of, God, I know I put myself here, but please sit beside me and help me stand up. God met me that day. He gave me the courage to stand up. And I want you to start thinking, maybe you've been through an experience, or maybe you're sitting in these seats right now thinking about the bench experience that you're in this moment, that you're at home watching this, wondering, I'm in my bench right now. I'm in my place of suffering, my place of pain, my place of anxiety, my place of negative self-talk. I'm in this place right now. And so I want to help you guys learn what do we do when we have this call out to courage? Because I'm going to tell you, one of the things that happens, a big thing that happens, is that when we are in our park bench experience, we're going to look for comfort. You know, have you ever had that urge where you feel a call out for courage? And your body's like, let's go, let's go. You know, you have to do like the old lady thing where you're like rocking, like, I'm coming, God. Just need to get some momentum. Your body says, let's go, and your feet say, no, we're not going anywhere. Your courage says, stand up, and your feet want comfort to stand up. They're like, before we stand up, we're going to need a couple things. But a call out for courage is often going to call you out of your comfort zone. There's people that have already been up on this stage and they've walked up the stairs out of their comfort zone. A lot of you in this room have a story of walking out of your comfort zone. If there's a call out for courage on your life, in an area of your life, be prepared, friends. That you're going to get a call out of your comfort zone. But I promise that bench experience that you're having is going to become a benchmark for the next thing that's going to happen, the next thing that God's going to do to turn things around. You're going to have a story of what it took to get your legs up off of the bench. There's going to be a couple barriers where your body's going to have this tug of war between courage and comfort, courage and comfort, courage and comfort. And so we're going to talk about those 4 barriers real quick, because I want you to have a picture of what this is going to look like for your life, a struggle that I've been in, that I've had to balance and play the tug-of-war game of courage and comfort. And so 4 of the things that we're going to talk about today real quick that are going to kind of be the things that comfort wants. Your legs to get up. Your comfort is going to want clarity. You're going to be sitting on your bench in your comfort. Okay, if I'm going to move, Lord, if I'm going to do what you're calling me to do, I'm going to need clarity. I'm going to need confidence. I'm going to need confirmation. And I'm going to need clear communication. You know, have you ever had the prerequisite conversation with God? Okay, God, if we're going to do this, here's my demands. I want green M&Ms. And we do that, don't we? And so we're going to talk about each one, and I want to not only share bits and pieces of my life with you. And I love that Cindy brought up the burning bush, because that's exactly where I'm going. Because I'm going to mention a little bit of the struggle that Moses had. We're going to connect so much to Moses, and anytime that there's an area of my life where I need to have a call out for courage, I quickly think about Moses, and I say, oh my gosh, if Moses can do it, I can do it. We can do this. And so we're going to look at the push-pull, the tug-of-war that Moses had to go through, that you and I go through, where we have this battle between courage and comfort in order to get off the bench. The first one is clarity. Comfort wants full scope clarity, when courage just needs a heart for change. Your comfort is going to want full scope clarity. What that means is full scope clarity means that you want the whole picture. Okay, God, if I'm going to stand up, if you really want me to do this, if you want me to go to the front of the stage, if you want me to go out and start that ministry, if you want me to help that community that needs my assistance, if you want me to go towards my gifting and my calling, I need the full picture. Here's what I want to say, and then you tell me what they're going to say, and then tell me what I should say in response to that. You know, we look at God as this director. Like, give me the script. I'll wait for it. When it comes in the mail, then I'll know that you're telling me that today is the day. We want God to give us the script of back and forth. What do you want me to do? What outfit should I wear? We want to know the whole picture. But let me tell you that comfort is what wants you to just stay cozy on that bench and wants the full picture. Courage needs a heart for change. Jala told us a story. Your story today gave us this picture. I don't know what this is going to look like, this blacklight foundation, but I just know that there's a need. I just know that I have a heart to do something, to make a difference, to help people. And God used that place. You didn't need to know the full scope picture. He gave you a heart for change. And so how God does that with Moses, in Exodus 3, so we're going to start with just 9 and 10. The Israelites, so Moses has this burning bush experience. God's going to call him to help rescue the Israelites, okay? So the Israelites' cry for help has come to me. This is what God is saying. And I have also seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them. Therefore go. I am sending you to Pharaoh so that you may lead my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. So look how God works. That first sentence, the Israelites' cry for help has come to me. Moses is probably sitting in agreement. Yeah, like, I'm totally with you. If you hear Moses' story before all of this, he's starting to have that heart for change. And so Moses is like, yeah, I got it. And have you ever been listening to a message at church on Sunday and you're shaking your head like, yes, to everything the pastor's saying? You're like, yes, yes, yes. And then they end with that, therefore go. And you're like, no, wait, whoa, back it up. I was like, all for you. Moses has that experience with God, because he's shaking his head, because God is saying, the Israelites' cry for help has come to me. And Moses is like, yeah, I know, I heard them. Like, when I was back there, they were like totally crying for you. You should really do something about that. Okay, he probably didn't talk like that. Therefore go. I am sending you to Pharaoh so that you may lead my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. You ever had a calling like that on your life? God gives you that heart for change, and you're like, I could really use full scope clarity. Your comfort wants full scope clarity when courage only needs a heart for change. If there's an area in your life today where you're feeling a tug on your heart, where you think that something needs to be done, someone should do something about, they probably need help on Sunday mornings with the volunteer team, but they get there so early. Any area that you feel a call, a heart for change in, be prepared for a call for courage to come in your life. And then the next one, comfort wants immediate confidence. Wouldn't this be great? Comfort wants immediate confidence when courage only needs to hold on to God's promises. So you're sitting in and you're just, God, if you're gonna ask me to do this, I need to feel confident. I need to feel like a rock star. I need to know that I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna do it well. And people are gonna look at Moses and they're gonna be like, Moses, wow, nobody can do it better than you. You're so amazing. You want that immediate confidence if I'm gonna stand up. But Cindy's story gave us the example. She wanted that immediate confidence. But God said, I'll always be with you. I'll give you Matthew 28. I'll always be with you. We want immediate confidence when God says, just hold on to my promises. Here's what he does with Moses. But Moses asked God, who am I that I should go? Now, we can't relate to this, right? This is just Moses. We don't ever ask God that. Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and that I should bring the Israelites out of Egypt? He answered, I will certainly be with you. I will certainly be with you. The promise he gave to Cindy was, I'll be with you always. If you don't know where to start, sometimes when you're on your bench, just grab your journal and just start writing God's promises. Your comfort's going to want immediate confidence, and a lot of times you want immediate confidence in me. But courage, in order for us to stand up from our bench, it needs to hold on to God's promises. Instead, the immediate thoughts that come to mind are, I'm not good enough. I'm going to fail. Anxiety, oh gosh. Anytime you have a call out of courage, you're like, I'd never experienced anxiety like this before. You're going to think about every scenario that could go wrong, forget everything that could go right. You're also going to give God probably 3 options. Have you ever done that? Where you're like, I hear you, God. I'm your messenger. Who do you want me to give this to? And he's like, therefore go, you. Comfort wants immediate confidence when courage only needs to hold on to God's promises. And the next part of that same verse is going to take us into this next one. Comfort wants specific confirmation when courage only needs confirmation, only needs the hope that confirmation will come. This is a hard one. This is a hard one for me to write down. So if you're writing it down, you're going to be like, I can't do it. Comfort wants specific confirmation. It is okay for you to want confirmation in your life, for you to gain that from other people that you trust. Confirmation is not a bad thing. But here's where it becomes a barrier to courage, is when we want specific confirmation. We're like, God, this is exactly what I want you to do in this framework, and if you don't do it, then it means you don't want me to move forward. Specific confirmation is when you leave this place tonight and you get this urge, this sense of, God, are you wanting me to share my story at icuTalks? Are you wanting me to do that? Or do you have a friend in my life or somebody that could be influenced and inspired by my story? And so you get in your car, and when you leave here tonight, you're driving, and you're like, okay, God, if that's really you, then this light is going to be green. If you want me to go forward, it's going to be green, okay? We got a deal? You seeing me? And if it's red, that means don't go. Or maybe it's call a friend, call someone that you need to reconcile a relationship with. Maybe it's someone you need to say sorry to. Maybe it's some type of courage in your life that you go and you have this experience with God, and then what happens is how it's specific confirmation is you're like, okay, if it's red, then you don't want me to do it. And then you pull your foot off the gas, right? You're like, I'm just making sure. You tweak the results. That's going to be a barrier for courage. Your call out for courage in your life, because you're like, oh, maybe I feel like God was calling me to this, but he told me that the timing was off because the light was red, and so we got this thing that we're doing. Your comfort wants specific confirmation when courage only needs hope that confirmation will come. And so this is the hard part that follows up with, God says, I will certainly be with you. And this will be the sign to you that I have sent you. When you bring the people out of Egypt, you will all worship God at this mountain. And like I'm putting myself in Moses' shoes, and I'm like, no, I was thinking like confirmation today. But God says, and then he says, when you. He says, delayed confirmation. I'm going to give you confirmation. I will certainly be with you, and this is how you will know that I sent you. That when you pull them out of Egypt, you will all worship me on this mountain. Sometimes we get a call out for courage right here, and God says, and I'm going to confirm that I was the one that sent you, and we're going to do awesome things over here. And you're like, no, I kind of need you to do it before I get up. I'm scared. I need confirmation right now. Like, completely hold my hand, and you probably need to push me too. Like, help me up. God says, I will certainly be with you. He says, hold on to my promises. And then he says, and this will be the confirmation. For me, writing a marriage book was a big part of that for my story. That from a broken place in my marriage, of things that I wish had never happened, of things that we both wish we could do differently and restore and change. God took me out of a season where I was sitting on a bench, and he said, write it down. And y'all, I thought about quitting. I didn't want to be a therapist. I didn't want to be a counselor anymore. I had nothing to say. I had nothing to offer. I didn't feel good enough. I didn't feel adequate. And today, every time I help someone, every time someone reads my books and feels challenged and changed, I hear God meeting me on my bench and saying, and then you will know. And then you will know when people's lives are restored, when healing takes place, when you're able to advocate for me because I'm using you, Emily. Get off the bench. I got big plans. I got stuff we're supposed to do. Get up. I will be with you. And then last one, comfort wants the gift of clear communication. When courage only needs one step of action. This is a big one that I wanted you guys to hear today, because often we think that the only people that get called are the people that are good communicators. And I want to tell you that I've said my story in a lot of messy ways with people like, it's interesting. I've messed up. I've said it the wrong way. I didn't even know what I was thinking because I was processing while I was sharing my story, you know? Your comfort thinks that if God calls me to it, I should be able to talk about it, right? But instead, God gives you this experience. You have this burning bush experience, and then you go and tell your friends, I saw this bush, and then this is what God told me to do, and your friends are like, okay, we love you just as you are. You have a really great personality. And they're like, Moses is a little on the weird side because you don't know how to talk about it. Find friends that are okay with messy conversation, you know? And so your comfort, the thing that keeps you immobile, is you're like, I'm not going to stand up and have courage until you give me the gift to be able to speak it clearly. And Moses, in this part, Moses begs. I don't know if you've ever had a beg experience where you're like, okay, I hear you, God, but now I'm letting you know, like, I really don't want to do it. Like, I heard you now. I'm confirmed that this is what you're asking me to do. And Moses says, please, Lord, I have never been eloquent, either in the past or recently since you have been speaking to your servant, because I am slow and hesitant in speech. He didn't have the gift of clear communication. And then look what God says. Yahweh said to him, who made the human mouth? Who makes him mute or deaf, seeing or blind? Is it not I, Yahweh? Now go. I will help you speak, and I will teach you what to say. Do you see how he doesn't give him affirmation and validation? He doesn't say, Moses, you're going to be great. You're going to be a great speaker. Everyone's going to hear you. They're going to understand. When you go home, if you go later into the scripture, you can see that what happens next is he gives him community. He gives him companionship. He says, aren't you going to see Aaron? I think that happens to you and I too. But we want, if you're asking me to do this, I should be a clear communicator. And if I stumble over my words, or I trip when I go up on the stage, or if I don't know how to talk to my friend who's saying they're going through depression or going through grief, and I don't know what to say, so I'd rather say nothing at all. But comfort wants the gift of clear communication. But you know what? Courage just needs one step of action. Courage says, let's just make the phone call. Courage says, what do I need to do just to stand up? You don't need the full scope picture. You don't need immediate confidence. It's just, what do I need to stand up? Help me stand up and hear God's promises over your life. I will certainly be with you. And I want you all to hear that over your life, spoken over your life today, because I will not be up here today from that little girl who sat on that bench. She had no idea what was going to happen when she stood up. She had no idea what was going to be asked of her. She had no idea the reality of the world that she was walking into. But I heard God say, now go. I want you to hear that spoken over your life today too. I want you to hear God saying, now go. I will be with you. I will teach you what to say. I will show you what to do. And so I hope today, hearing those two stories, hearing my story, I hope you feel encouraged. I hope you feel emboldened. I hope whatever area is immobilizing you because you're looking for comfort, that you overcome that. And that you hear the call out for courage. I would not be up here today if I didn't hear that call out for courage and simply stand up. Because once you stand up from one step of action, then he'll give you the courage to make the next one. Just take one step. If I could encourage you all to do one thing, just take one step. One step of action. Make that phone call. Start writing it down, whatever it is that's going on in your life. Give yourself that one step of action.